What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of the Nosebleed Section podcast. It's a solo one today. It's just me, Nick. Tommy is down on vacation out in the Outer Banks, so it is just going to be me today. A lot to talk about in this past week since our last episode, episode 7. A lot has happened. There's been a lot of breaking news, a lot of trades, and the MLS is almost done. First thing I do want to get into, though, is probably the biggest news that did come out because we've talked about it a lot, especially with Tommy because he's a Jets fan. Jamal Adams was traded to the Seattle Seahawks yesterday because I'm recording this on Wednesday, so he was traded on Tuesday, I believe. But Jamal Adams was traded to the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks gave up safety Bradley McDougald. Apologize on the butchering of the name if I did. They give them a first-round pick in 2021, a first-round pick in 2022, a third-round pick in 2021, and the New York Jets give away Jamal Adams and a fourth-round pick in 2022. Now, for both sides, I think it's a pretty good trade. I don't think Bradley McDougald is anywhere near the level of Jamal Adams. But also at the same time, I think Jamal Adams is probably not way better, but he's, for what Jamal Adams has done since he's been in the league, has been, I would consider him one of the better safeties in the league, and he's only been in the league for about 4 years. Jamal Adams was obviously rated very highly, and any team that decided to come after him, realistically, you were getting an insanely young, good player. The Jets ended up getting 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick, plus another safety. And Bradley McDougald really isn't a bad safety at all. Obviously, he's stepping in the big shoes of trying to take over Jamal Adams' spot, but you get 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick, and people were saying, or like fans, were saying that they would give away Jamal Adams for a first and a third. But you got a player, 2 first, a third, and you gave away a fourth-round pick. So I think that's a very big win for the Jets, as they got 2 first-round picks, which can really help them in the next 2 drafts. They also get Bradley McDougald, who's an experienced safety, so he can kind of just like step in, maybe not pick up the exact same role, but it's an experienced safety to help that defense. And you get a third-round pick. So that, in my opinion, is extremely good for the Jets because the way Jamal Adams has been treated there, or not just the way he's been treated, but the way the whole situation has been treated from both sides. Obviously, Jamal Adams is not very happy. He doesn't think Adam Gase is the right person to coach that team. So he was very clearly unhappy. He thinks their GM is too inexperienced as well. But Jamal Adams got what he wanted because he's on a new team. The Jets got rid of a very toxic situation that they probably didn't want to deal with. And they ended up getting a lot, in my opinion, a lot in return. They got, again, 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and another safety. And the Seahawks, on the other hand, get a very, very good safety in Jamal Adams. And they get a fourth-round pick, which isn't the most appealing thing. But they do get a fourth-round pick. But, again, Jamal Adams, for as young as he is a very, very highly rated safety who's very versatile. He could really play a cornerback position. He could even possibly move up to a linebacker. He's a very, very versatile player. Now, the Seattle Seahawks do lose Clowney because they had him last year for, I believe it was a 1-year deal where he was just finishing off his contract. So their defensive line is still not as strong. Again, Clowney has not decided where he's good to go. There's still a chance he goes back to Seattle. But, the way Jamal Adams kind of plays and the way he reads the offense, you are still improving that defense, even though Clowney left. And Clowney was a big part of that defense. But Jamal Adams, for again, as young as he is going to be a huge part of that defense going forward, especially if the Seahawks do end up signing him. and he ends up getting the money he wants, the contract he wants, and he's there for a number of years. Um, Also, um, Le'Veon Bell, we talked about how he said, or a couple episodes we talked about how Le'Veon Bell thought that Jamal Adams was going to stay. After the trade, which I guess Le'Veon Bell was kind of surprised from, he tweeted out. I'll try to put the tweet on screen, but he said, "People do all the hooting and hollering to get you bought in just to leave. LOL. Like, people weird, yo. The internet got these dudes doing whatever for attention, even when they tell you blank. They don't believe themselves." And I mean, Le'Veon Bell came out saying he thinks that Jamal Adams is going to stay, that his heart is with the Jets, everything. And Jamal Adams didn't really seem to care. He just kind of was like, noted, see you week 14. Le'Veon Bell wasn't really happy with that. He literally just quoted, was like, noted. Like, what do you mean? Le'Veon Bell was obviously very pissed off by the situation. Because he's like, what do you mean noted? You lied. Like, trust is, it's noted. If I'm supposed to take CU week 14 as a threat, I don't. We're still all love, like I told you on the phone. I want the best for you. If this is the best for you, I want it for you, bro. Le'Veon Bell, obviously just kind of annoyed that Jamal Adams kind of like lied to him and everything. Because Jamal Adams seems very like pleased and happy that he got traded. Like, he didn't really care if he was staying with the Jets or if he was getting traded. It seemed like he wanted to get traded anyway. But that entire situation, like, again, week 14 is going to be a very interesting week in football between the Jets and the Seahawks. I'm also curious to see how the Jets kind of play without Jamal Adams, because Jamal Adams, in my opinion, was a big part of that Jets defense, like the way he played. And I also think the Jets like had a good draft, both offensively and defensively. So maybe that offense is a little more dynamic, and it allows Le'Veon Bell to get more carries, or more efficient carries, should I say. I feel like it was going a lot between just giving Le'Veon the ball for like majority of your downs down the field, or it was just throwing it. There was no like switching on and off, or there was not much of a like a bolt-sided like playbook. I know that's the wrong term, but like it was kind of like, oh, we're just gonna kind of pass down the field with like one or two run plays, or we're just gonna run down the field with one or two pass plays. With the way that Jets offense is looking, they improved their offensive line significantly. They drafted a couple receivers like Denzel Mims. And I mean, you have Sam Darnold, who I think is a very, very good quarterback. Le'Veon Bell, obviously a very good running back. And that's someone who wants, when you have someone who wants to be with the team, I just think like they're just gonna be like steps up. Like, Le'Veon Bell wanted to and clearly still does want to be with the Jets. So I think the Jets are kind of in a good position. Again, week 14 is going to be interesting because I still think that Seahawks team is very good, especially when you have Russell Wilson leading your offense. You don't need too much around him when you have a quarterback of that stature. But yeah, this whole Le'Veon Bell Jamal Adams situation is kind of comical because Jamal Adams is very, very leaning towards the side of the public, more so that he's very public with everything he says, and he kind of wants the media to be involved, like no matter what it is. Like, they're just pissing off teammates because he lied to him because he said he wanted to stay or whatever it is. I don't know. He clearly wanted to leave, though. I thought that was very evident to, like, since this entire situation started, if I'm going to be honest. It just kind of seemed in no way, shape, or form did Jamal Adams want to stay with the Jets. And the Jets ended up getting, I feel like the Jets kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say they lost out on this because I think they got like 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick are obviously very good. Plus, you get a safety. And they get rid of a toxic situation that no one really wanted. Because if Jamal Adams stays, that locker room is just like, it's just going to be toxic. It's not a place you want to be as a player. But yeah, I'm excited for when if Jamal Adams comes back, or not if he comes back for that Week 14 matchup, should I say? When they eventually see each other again, it's look, it's got to be an interesting one, whether it's a clean one or if it's fighting or whatever. It's got to be an interesting fight. Um, I don't even know who I'd want to win that. I really don't because I like the Jets. Big fan of Russell Wilson. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting matchup. But also moving on Twitter, NHL Seattle has kind of been the next team to enter the NHL. We have we haven't talked much about hockey other than that they're kind of like starting back up. Those games are coming like the beginning of August. Um, but they have been NHL Seattle on Twitter for I don't even know how long. And now they have finally come out with their name. They are going to be called the Seattle Kraken. Now, one thing that's interesting about it, to just say off the bat, most teams in Major League Sports end like the end of their like nickname or what do you want to call them ends in the letter S. The Seattle Kraken clearly do not, as they end with an N. And that's kind of like one of those sports trivia things where you ever I've done it a lot, where you kind of be like, hey, you and a couple friends, you can call buddies. You're sitting there and you're like, hey, can you name all the teams in professional sports or in like baseball or hockey or whatever that don't end in the letter S? And like everyone kind of gets like a couple, but you always miss some. But there's another team that doesn't end in the letter S. I do feel like hockey is pretty big on that though. There's like a couple or like a decent amount of teams that don't end in the letter S. Like I know most of them do, obviously. But yeah, the Seattle Kraken is the 32nd team in the NHL. Also, that's interesting about it is the last two teams the NHL entered are both West Coast teams in the Vegas Golden Knights and now the Seattle Kraken. So that obviously makes it uneven because I think it's like 16 and 14 in each conference. So they have to move like one or two teams over, or it's like 17 and 13. I don't even know, to be honest. Or because it's 16, so it'd be like 17 and 15. I think they have to move like one or two teams over. I don't exactly know how that's gonna work, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just make it. Maybe it's like 18 and 15 or 18 and 14 or something. So it's like even that way. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't think the NHL has announced that. But the Seattle Kraken have come out. Their jerseys, I'm gonna be honest, extremely nice. The colors they picked, they got like a light kind of like baby bluish, a dark blue, red, white. It looks really really nice. They have the anchor on the shoulder, or an N anchor on the shoulder. The logo, in my opinion, is the only place that doesn't get me, but the only place that I'm like, all right, that's not the best logo they could have come up with. Like a Kraken, right? Um, Probably the most famous saying is "Release the Kraken" from I think it's Pirates of the Caribbean or the Caribbean. Sorry, but a Kraken is more or less just a giant octopus. Now, the logo, which will be on screen, we're gonna put the main logo. We'll put the jersey. We'll put the anchor on there. The logo is just an S for Seattle. It's got like one tentacle, and then it's got an eye, which is like it looks fine. It's not like the worst logo, but like I get what they were trying to do with the tentacle, but I feel like I don't know, it's not bad. I don't think because I'm gonna be honest. I really like the branding. I do. I like the branding. I like the uniform. Like the uniform is really nice. I also really like the name. I think the name is very different, very not fitting to Seattle because, well, obviously there's no Krakens, or I guess I don't even know how to look at that, but I don't know if that's like it's more like folklore. But I think the name is kind of like fitting to Seattle. Um, I really like the name. I'm going to be honest. It's very different. It's very everyone's like so. There's so many people so set on like, oh, it's got to be like a good name, or it's got to be like kind of a name people expect. But like, I don't follow hockey a lot, but I think the Kraken was kind of a name maybe a lot of people expected, honestly, because maybe there was like five or so names that they were like, yeah, we're gonna pick one of these names. But like the Kraken, in my opinion, is just a very I really like it. I don't even know how to explain it, but I like it. I think it's really good. The jersey's really nice. I'm gonna be honest. Real a big fan of the jersey. The only part I have a little issue with is the logo, but the logo is not even that bad. I see what they were trying to do the S with like a bit of a kraken, but again, the kraken is a giant octopus, and this clearly is not a giant octopus. um, yeah, so it's really not that bad if I'm gonna be honest. I like it. I actually do. I'm curious to see how the expansion draft goes for them. I don't know exactly if teams have made anyone available yet for them. Like I don't know if there's um I know they started like selling like logo. Well, obviously they started selling like merchandise and everything, but I don't know if teams have made like any players available for the expansion draft. That's more so what what I think. Or not what I think. I'm just like blanking right now. Damn, doing this alone is like difficult. Jeez. Yeah, but more or less, I think it's a good logo. I think it's a very good look, especially for Seattle, because I feel like Seattle kind of has teams and they kind of just get taken away, like the Supersonics. They were like big with the Supersonics, and also in Supersonics moved to OKC. But Seattle cut more. So like Seattle loves their teams. Any team in Seattle is just like loved. It's it's anything in Seattle is loved. Those people in Seattle are crazy. So this is something that I think everyone will be able to get behind, and I think the branding and everything is just really really well done. I do. I mean, obviously they've had a lot of time to think and like talk about how they want to design everything. The merch, like the merchandise and everything, looks basically like just as good. So I'm a big fan of that. Um, yeah. The also in our news, the MLS has moved on to bracket play. The groups are done. The teams to make it out of the group are the Philadelphia Union, New England Revolution, Sporting Kansas City, Vancouver Whitecaps, Toronto FC, NYCFC, Portland, Cincinnati, Orlando and Montreal, Seattle and LAFC, San Jose and Real Salt Lake, and Columbus Crew and the Minnesota. Um, three, yeah, three, no, four. Four games of the round of 16 have been played. The Philadelphia Union beat New England Revolution 1-0, so they move on to the quarterfinals. Sporting Kansas City beat Vancouver Whitecaps in penalties. They beat them 3-1. New York City FC takes down Toronto 3-1 to move on to the quarterfinals. Orlando beats Montreal 1-0. Yeah, and those are the only games. Other than that, we have Portland playing Cincinnati to move on. The winner of that plays NYCFC in the quarterfinals. We have Seattle play LAFC. That is tonight when I'm recording this. No, that's tomorrow. My bad. My bad. They play each other. The winner of that will play Orlando in the quarterfinals. Then you have San Jose and Real Salt Lake to play each other, and then Columbus and Minnesota they play each other, and the winner of those two games will then play each other again in the quarterfinals. This bracket will be on screen for you, so you can look at it. Based on this, I do think LAFC still has the best chance to win it all, as I think overall they just have the best team. Like from top to bottom, Bradley Wright Phillips moving from the Red Bulls to LAFC was kind of a shock move for Red Bull fans, but he is lighting it up in LA, or for LA, should I say, because they're in Orlando. But he has like 3 goals in like 3 games, or 3 goals in 4 games, or something. And he's just playing really really well. Um, I think a really good fit for that LAFC team, as well, as they haven't been lacking a striker, but like Carlos Vela, although he's not there, has kind of been the catalyst for that team where everything kind of goes through him. But they haven't had like an out and out goal scorer to just create something on their own. Like every once in a while, you'll have like someone like Diamande when he was there. Actually, I do think he's still there. Like Diamande, um, Diego Rossi does a lot too, but at the same time, like a lot of it was through Carlos Vela. A lot of it, like they feel like they missed a lot of chances. But with a striker like Bradley Wright Phillips, who has an absurd goal record in the MLS, I think he's at like 111, 112 goals in the MLS like regular season, which is, jeez, that's staying in. I don't care. Which is up there really for like most. I think it's. I don't even know the record. I will try to get that up on screen for you. I think he's like up in the top 5 for most goals in like the MLS regular season. He's been doing it for a while. He's won like the regular season Golden Boot for like with the Red Bulls for like a couple years. Like he's just been really really good. I think he has a much better team around him in LA, and obviously he hasn't even been able to play with Carlos Vela yet. He might have played like the 2 games before, but I don't even know if he actually got in, or if he was like playing for those 2 games. The fact like he's playing on a very good LAFC team, and I would say they're even better with Carlos Vela, and I still think they have a chance to win everything. The MLS is back tournament final presented by Audi. I'm just kind of like reading that if I'm going to be honest. That final is going to be on August 11th. A lot of the games are the 27th of July for the round of 16. And then the games are just going to kind of be spread out between July 30th and August 1st for the quarters. The semis are going to be on August 5th and the 6th. And then you're going to have a 5 to 6 day break until the final. I do think LAFC has the best chance to win it, but that is coming out of one side of the bracket. To come out of the other side of the bracket, I feel like it's going to be either Sporting or it's going to be NYCFC. I think both teams are really good defensively, but even better, they have really good options going forward. Castellano. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name again. He's really good going forward. They also have Heber. I don't really know how to say his name exactly. He's just quality goal scorer, but then Sporting Kansas City is kind of just really good from top to bottom. And you on top of that, you have Alan Pulido leading the line, who's just a prolific goal scorer, especially in MLS. I feel like that's gonna be a good matchup. But obviously, first Sporting has to beat Philly, and NYCFC has to beat the winner of Portland versus Cincinnati, and they won't find that out for another like 2 days or so on who they're gonna play. But I do feel like NYCFC gets a nice break, if I'm going to be honest. So I think Sporting or New York City is going to come out of that side of the bracket to most likely play LAFC. I don't think Orlando has a good enough team to face and beat LAFC. I do think Orlando has a lot of good players in Nani, obviously, Christian Muller, Dom Dwyer. Very good going forward. The defense is where I have a lot of is where I see them a little iffy. Jao Moutinho. I think it's Jao. I don't know. Very really good. Jansen pretty good. It's the other center back that I'm a little iffy on. Right back I'm a little iffy on. And then the rest of that bracket I'm not too convinced. Actually, Columbus Crew is a very very good team. I can see Columbus fighting LAFC for that spot to get into the final. Columbus Crew has a very good team actually. So that's actually going to be. I feel like it's going to be kind of be Columbus Crew versus the LAFC on that August 6th matchup in the semifinals. And then you're going to have Sporting KC versus NYCFC in the semifinals on the other side of the bracket. Again, this bracket will be on your screen, so you will be able to see it, and you can kind of see like what I'm looking at, what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think that's gonna what it's gonna come down to. As it gets closer, I'll probably pick a winner from each. Um, yeah, because it's actually closer than I thought. But oh, again, there's no Nashville. There's no FC Dallas. FC Dallas is a pretty good team. Um, Nashville, I wanted to really see what they could do because I feel like they're not a bad team, but I feel like they could have had maybe a little run. I also thought Inter Miami was going to be a lot better. Inter Miami kind of disappointed. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, they not irritated me, but I just expected a little better, I guess. But we talked about the Kraken, how they're a new team. But moving on, we just talked about the MLS. Now, the MLS had a lot of big news to come out recently as well. I don't know the number team this is. They are coming out in 2022. So I think they're at 26 right now. So I think they're going to be like the 28th team. There's 26. And 2021, I believe, is Austin Bold. I could be wrong. I think it's Austin. So it'd be 27. So this team would be 28th team. I believe it's the 28th team. Just doesn't tell me. But yeah, Charlotte FC is the next team to join the MLS. They will be competing in the MLS starting in 2022, I believe. Should be 2022. I'm really bad at reading these things fast. Like, terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm almost positive it's 2022 that Charlotte will be competing in the MLS. I'm going to be honest, I feel like they've kind of just done everything right from an MLS standpoint, as the way they came out, the branding they came out with, and the coloring, I mean, is like, it's just like it's the Carolina look. Like, you think like football, the Carolina Panthers, the white, the black, the baby blue, exact same colors. Very fitting. I'm gonna be honest for like Charlotte FC. They are playing in the same stadium as the Carolina Panthers. They also have their first signing in Sergio Ruiz. Sergio Ruiz is playing for a Spanish second division side, which is kind of interesting that that's their first signing, because I feel as a first signing for a club, you'd probably pick someone who has a higher, not ceiling, but a higher like name prowess kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Oh yes, it is 2022. Their crest, which will also be on your screen, minted in 2022, Charlotte Football Club. But yeah, for a second division player to join as your first signing isn't bad. I don't really know Sergio Ruiz. Maybe he's a baller. I'm not. He was the captain of the second division side, Racing Santander. However, it is properly pronounced. Very interesting to see how that's their first signing, as he's I'm not gonna call him a second division player because maybe his team just got demoted and they were looking at him for a while. He is their captain. Just interesting that that's your first signing, but again, maybe they couldn't get like the first person they wanted, so that was like the next one, or maybe it is, and maybe he's just like he's only 25 years old. Maybe he's a really good player and his team got really unlucky. But yeah, Charlotte Football Club is the next team to join the MLS. Their branding and everything they've done is really good, if I'm going to be honest. Like, the colors and everything are just extremely well done. One of the first things that they branded out was a face mask as well. And I'm not going to lie, if the face mask has anything to show about its colors and the team jersey or anything, it's got blue on one side. Like, if you take like your face, split them, it's got blue, like the baby blue on one side. It's got the logo. The other side is checkered, black and blue. Very similar, in my opinion, to like a Inter Milan kind of look. But if that is what their jerseys and stuff are going to look like, I'm going to be honest, I am going to be very happy because I think that is a look that no team in the MLS has, like the checkered kind of look. Like Atlanta United is like when they came in the league, they're like known as the five stripes. They got the five stripes going down the shirt from red to black to red to black to red. If they go with a checkered kind of look, I think it's going to be a very sick look for them. If I'm going to be honest, like again, no team in the MLS has that, so it would be something that is like different to every team, and it's going to be their own look, and it's going to really single this club out as like that's them. The way Atlanta United has the five stripes, and no other team in MLS really has that. Like MLS literally, like Atlanta United literally calls themselves the five stripes. No other team they're not going to call themselves the checker marks. Like that's just not going to happen. But that's going to be like their look. Where no other team in the MLS is like, hey, we are the four stripes, or I don't even know what else like anyone else would be called. Like that's what I mean. Like it's going to be a very unique. That's the word I was looking for. Unique look to Charlotte Football Club, if that is any indication of what their jerseys might look like. I think they've again done a really good job with the logo, the branding, and everything that they've come out with. And even like some of the merchandise is like really nice. They got a couple long sleeves, they got a couple hoodies, beanies, hats, like everything that they've come out with is extremely nice so far. I'm honestly like I'm not a fan because I am a Red Bull fan, unfortunately, and Red Bulls are not doing good at all. Like, yeah, no, not at all. But to end the episode, we are almost done. The Orioles, which is probably kind of a shock going to baseball, the Orioles are atop the AL East, tied with the Rays and the Yankees, sitting at 2-1. As all three of those teams have won their series, the Yankees beating the defending World Series champions, the Washington Nationals, 2-1. As Gleyber Torres coming up big for the Yankees. Gleyber Torres and Luke Voit, not just Gleyber Torres, coming up big for the Yankees in that game 3, both hitting home runs. I believe almost back to back. The Tigers tied with the Indians and the Twins top the AL Central. Obviously, there's only 3 games played, so most teams are going to be tied. And the Astros and the Athletics are both 2-1 atop of the AL West. Going to the National League, the Marlins are tied with the Braves at 2-1 on the AL East, or the NL East. The Central, the Cardinals and the Cubs are both 2-1. The NL West, the Padres and the Rockies are both 2-1, with the Giants and the Dodgers sitting at 2-2. No team has 0 wins, which is good. And no team is undefeated. No team has completely swept their series, which, I mean, it's baseball. All these teams and players are extremely good, so most teams, like, no team is just going to dominate every game. Although, if I'm going to be honest, the Orioles are have shocked me. As opening day for the Orioles and the Red Sox, I believe the Red Sox beat them like 13-2 or something like that, where after seeing that, I was like, well, this is just very reminiscent to last year, as the Orioles were not a very great club, and they start off this year getting absolutely smacked by the Red Sox. Doesn't really matter, I guess, as they went on to go win their next 2 games. They won the series over the Red Sox, and they're 2-1 atop the AL East again. We're only 3 games in. I feel like, especially with the 60-game season, every game counts, so a win's a win, but there's no like definitive like, oh, this team's like 2 games ahead. Like most teams are tied, especially with no team being undefeated and no team having 0 wins. There's no like every team is a game back. There's like, or a half a game back if you're the Dodgers and the Giants. So I feel like it's going to be around the 15-game mark is going to be the indicator on where teams are going to kind of be standing, depending on how they're looking. Yeah, I guess that's baseball for you, right? Any team can really win on any given day. I feel like that's most prominent in baseball, as if you come into a game and you just can't hit, or you're just like struggling to hit that day, and their pitcher's throwing really well, and they hit like 2 doubles, and you're down 1-0. You could just lose 1-0, and they might that was kind of like if you faced like a team like the Orioles last year, who were not very good, but like the Orioles could come out and just have a really good day and beat you. But that's, I feel, baseball. And I think anyone who plays baseball can attest to that. But we will be talking about the restart of baseball in our next podcast coming out on Thursday, hopefully at 3 p.m. I have to edit this week. Normally Tommy does most of the editing, and he's really good at it. I'm not that good at it, if I'm going to be honest. I'm struggling. But we will have a special guest for that podcast. We will be talking a lot about baseball and the restart of baseball. So that will be our biggest talking point, most likely. But thank you very much for tuning in. This podcast comes out every Monday and Thursday. I'm not going to say a specific time because I kind of messed up this week. But it comes out every Monday and Thursday on our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see ya.